House Republicans have unveiled a budget plan that would cut spending by $6 trillion over the next decade. Medicare, Medicaid, food stamp programs would all be slashed. Top tax rates for both businesses and individuals would be 25%. Our guest now says the plan actually has a hidden middle-class tax increase. Michael Linden is the director for tax and budget policy at the Center for American Progress. This is a Washington think tank. Michael's joining us now by phone from D.C. Michael, thanks for joining us this morning. Why do you think the middle class will feel the squeeze under Ryan's plan? How can you get that detail from what we've seen so far?
Right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Ryan's plan does include a hidden middle-class tax increase because of the simple math. Now, he doesn't present us with a particularly detailed tax plan, and I think that might be on purpose. What he says is that he's going to lower the top rate to 25%, but keep revenue, the overall, at the same level. So if you're gonna lower taxes at the top by that much, that's a huge cut. That's a 1/3 cut. Then you're gonna have to make up that revenue somewhere else. And what he says is that he's gonna quote unquote broaden the base, and that is tax speak for ending tax breaks like the mortgage interest deduction, the charitable deduction, state and local tax deduction, things like that. That's how you make up that kind of revenue while lowering rates overall.
So, Michael, obviously, if you do touch that mortgage rate deduction, that is going to affect the middle class, arguably, and the upper classes, as they tend to be property owners. But can you also make the argument that this particular tax break hasn't really helped the U.S. economy that much? In fact, if anything, it's been somewhat of a wild card.
Well, sure. I mean, we could have a debate about the mortgage interest deduction and whether or not that's a useful part of our tax code, and I think that's a worthwhile debate to have. But that's not what's happening here. What Paul Ryan has done is he's offered a kind of a bait and switch. He says, "Oh, listen, we're going to have a nice new tax code that has a nice low rate for the people at the very top, and oh, by the way, if you look closely, it means the people in the middle are going to have to pay more to make up for that." Now, maybe it's the mortgage interest deduction, maybe it's something else, but he doesn't tell us. But the only way to make the math work is that if he wants people at the top to pay less, people everywhere else are going to have to pay more.
And Michael, I take it you think that this is 100% politically motivated in the sense that he can't just come out and say the middle class is not paying enough taxes.
Well, I think that that's a big part of it. Look, I think that he has an ideological commitment to lowering taxes on people at the top. He thinks, honestly, genuinely, that that's the way to stimulate economic growth. I think that that's wrong. I think that we know from the past 10 years when we tried that it does not work. We just went through, President Bush's economic policy was to lower taxes for people at the top, and it did not work by any measure. Lowest job growth of any economic cycle in post-war history. But that is his commitment, so I can understand him doing that. I just wish he would come right out and say, well, that means that everybody else is going to have to pay more.
All right, so supply side trickle down doesn't work. Michael Linden, thanks very much. He is joining us there from Washington, D.C. He is the director for tax and budget policy at the Center for American Progress.